Hello friends, thanks for checking out this week's marketing tip about image copyright and how much it matters. To put this in perspective, a few years ago I had to write a check for $7,500 to protect a client from a copyright claim from an image troll, a copyright troll. And so I want you to be able to learn from my mistakes in the past and not make them for yourself in the future. Image copyright issues come in a lot of different forms. They can be simple nastygrams from iStock Photo that they found that you're using one of their images on your website without permission or an account with them, all the way up to copyright trolls that put images in royalty-free image sites, supposedly, and if you don't use their attribution text exactly, they'll sue you in federal court. That actually happened to me a few years ago, where we took an image, I took an image from Wikimedia, and actually retouched that image and included it in a collage of other images, and somehow their software found that image in the collage that I'd created for my client. And through a period of a couple of months and back and forth and attorneys and a whole bunch of hassle, I've learned a ton about image copyright issues. And I've also had to write a check for $7,500 to make that problem go away. And yeah, that was a painful check to write, and I don't want you to ever have to write that check. So today I wanted to talk about some simple ways you can avoid that completely by using royalty-free images from some publicly available websites, as well as a subscription to something like Storyblocks. I'll talk about that as well. So here's what I see most people doing. I see them going to Google and typing in a search for, let's say, red blood cells. And then they click on this images link to narrow it down to photos about images that have red blood cells in them. And they'll scroll through this list and say, oh, I love this picture, I'm going to use it. Like this one, for example. And they just copy that and they use that on their blog post or in a status update. And that is opening them up for sure to a copyright strike, where they might get a nastygram, a takedown order. I've seen it all, or just they get sued outright and they get a letter from an attorney asking for damages. So you definitely want to avoid doing that ever again. Don't ever use a Google image search and just grabbing images to use. There are 3 websites that I use primarily for finding royalty-free images that are not going to get me into hot water with a lawsuit. Quick caveat, this video is all about my opinions. I'm not your attorney, so you need to do your own research. But just know that I have done a ton of research, and I've been doing this professionally for companies for years now with no legal problems by using royalty-free images from a couple of different websites. Those websites, I'll start with my favorite, and it's Pixabay, Pixabay.com. And you'll notice that when you get to the homepage of Pixabay, there's a great search bar right here. Let's say you're a medical practice and you want to do a status update about something that's medical related, so you could just search for medical. And this first section at the top is going to be sponsored pictures. If you want to try to use those, like this one specifically is from iStock. You actually have to have a subscription with iStock and pay per image and those kinds of things, or have a subscription. Instead of that, just scroll down past that ad and you can start using all of these pictures. So let's say that you were going to do something about red blood cells. Well, here's a great picture showing red blood cells. Click that picture and you'll get into the page where you can actually download that. And over here on the right, there's the Pixabay license, and it says free for commercial use, and no attribution is required. And that's incredibly important, back to the story earlier where I had grabbed an image from Wikimedia and used it and got into a nasty lawsuit about it because I didn't have the attribution on the image on the website. So you don't have to do attribution with these images, even though it's appreciated by the photographers if they happen to find and see that you're using their image. And if you want to know more about this license, it's pretty much the same on all 3 websites, so you can click in here. All content on Pixabay can be used for free for commercial use and non-commercial use across print, digital, except in the cases below in the what's not allowed. So read that if I doubt it applies to you, but read that section down there below. Attribution is not required, it's appreciated, but it's not required, and you can make modifications to these images. So that is the copyright stuff that's covering you on these websites. It's called CC0, which is short for Creative Commons Zero. And it's as close to perfect as they've been able to get from a lawsuit perspective for covering you from a copyright infringement lawsuit. Another site that I use all the time is called Pexels. And so you can come to the homepage of Pexels. It's pexels.com. And we'll do that same search for medical. And if I scroll down, there are a ton of photos that you could use on Pexels for something, whatever you're looking for. Here's a great stethoscope picture. And if you have any questions on how that's used, there's a license link up here in the top right, and you can click that, and you'll notice that it's literally the same language that's from Pixabay. Another site I use is Unsplash. It's UNSPLASH, Photos for Everyone. And if you go click into the licensing for that, it's the same kind of thing, the rules on using these photos. But we can do the same search on Unsplash for medical. And there's a bunch more. There's a great stethoscope picture. My encouragement is scroll down a little bit because a lot of people are lazy and they just use the first image they find. So if you scroll down a little bit, you might find one that's not used as often. Anyway, once you get one of these, you can look at using this on your website or status updates and things like that. But those are the three websites that I use the most: Pixabay, Pexels, and Unsplash. For those of you that already knew about royalty-free image websites and want to take it a step farther, here's the common thing I hear about that, is even though there's a bunch of images out there available that are royalty-free to grab, you still might have a very specialized thing that you want to portray in the image that you're using. And at that point, you need to start thinking about maybe having a subscription to a site that gives you access to tons of pictures. That could be Adobe Stock Photography. The one that I use the most is called Storyblocks, and that's this website right here, storyblocks.com, which is a massive library of video, audio, and images that you can use in your status updates for pictures, but even if you get into video creation. So we can do that search back up here again. If I go into all images and I search for medical, once I've done that, you'll see that there are 8,600 results in medical that were found. And this is just going to be even more. I've found that these photos are a little bit more professional even. A lot more of these will hit in terms of usable, and I don't see these quite as often because, again, you have to pay for them. But it's not a massively expensive price to have a Storyblocks subscription. You can look into the pricing and all that stuff. And you can look also into their the legality of using their images and stuff. It's a great process that they've got that's a little easier than Adobe Stock Photography, in my opinion. It's a blanket license. So for those that are aware of what's going on with this, in Adobe Stock and some of the other ones, you actually have to keep track of which images you've downloaded and which projects you've used them in so that you don't get into copyright issues, which is a pain in the rear, versus something like Storyblocks, which is more of a blanket protection for you of any of their content used anywhere is yours as long as you had an active subscription when you were using it. So that's how I've been actually in these videos. Watch my other videos, you'll see little video clips. I get a lot of those from Storyblocks to help paint the picture better of what I'm talking about. I hope you've learned a little bit about CC0 licensing today and some easier and better ways for you to find images that really help you tell your story without getting into legal problems. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please click the like button. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. It would really help me out a lot. I'll see you next week.